Why did the Pakistan Air Force, PAF, win the Indo-Pak air battle on May 7, 2025 with fewer aircraft, and even record an overwhelming record of 5-0 when the Pakistani side announced the details of the air war? The J-10C fighter aircraft became the focus of the full victory. It is not only the performance of a single aircraft crushed the Indian Rafale, but also in the synergy with the country's main force of the Kingpin 3, showed qualitative leaps, completely rewriting the rules of air warfare in South Asia. Behind this victory, not only is the performance of the fighter aircraft, but also a systematic combat on the universal brand equipment of the downward strike. The radar system of J-10CE is the core weapon of its victory. Its nose diameter of 710 mm, equipped with active phased array radar, has 240 km over CS equals 5 square meters of target detection capability, far more than the 170 km of the Kingpin 3 and the Indian Rafale or BE-2AA radar of 160 km. This technical advantage enables the PAF to preemptively engage in over-the-horizon air battles. For example, in the battle on May 7, the J-10C acquired target information through the AWACS data chain, maintained radar silence throughout the entire process, and launched the Thunderbolt 1-5E missiles without any warning from Indian pilots, which resulted in the Rafale being shot down without even being able to activate the electronic countermeasures system. In contrast, the Dragon 3 is limited by a smaller radar aperture and platform size, although it can perform interception tasks, but the initiative and long-range air combat is significantly inferior. However, the two do not exist in isolation. The J-10CE and the LD-3's coordinated operation has formed a tactical system of high and low collocation. The J-10C utilizes radar advantage to lock the target, and the LD-3 carries more missiles for saturation strikes through the composite mounts, and this division of labor has greatly enhanced the overall combat efficiency. The generational difference in avionics further amplifies the gap between the two. J-10CE is transplanted from the avionics architecture of J-20, adopts GJB289 improved high-speed data chain, and forms a real-time linkage, air and sky power grid, with CDK-03 AWACS and Red Flag 9B air defense system, which realizes the automation of the whole process, from target discovery to missile hit. This highly integrated digital network enables the J-10CE to receive multi-source intelligence and make quick decisions. For example, in an air battle, the AWACS transmits the target parameters directly to the cockpit interface of the J-10CE, and the pilot can launch the missile without turning on the radar, and then the AWACS guides the missile to complete the end-to-end guidance through the satellite link. On the contrary, the Dragon 3 still uses the traditional 1553B data chain, and its information processing speed and synergy can only realize single platform guidance, which makes it very easy to miss the opportunity in the ever-changing air war. This generational gap is particularly fatal in system confrontation, when the J-10C rips through the Indian defense line through electromagnetic suppression. The LD-3 undertakes more auxiliary tactical tasks, such as the use of smaller radar reflective cross-sectional area to carry out close reconnaissance or complementary shooting attacks. The disparity in electronic warfare capabilities emphasizes the tactical advantages of the J-10CE. Equipped with the KL700 electronic warfare pod that can simultaneously jam 30 frequency bands, the J-10CE successfully suppressed the Rafale's Spectra electronic countermeasures system in the May 7 air battle, causing the Indian radar to fail and communication to be interrupted. This asymmetric suppression makes Indian pilots into the black hole of information, both unable to perceive the threat of missiles, but also difficult to organize an effective counterattack. The Lord's 3K G600 pod is a simplified version of the interference band, and power are limited. It is difficult to combat high-end electronic warfare environment. This gap is particularly fatal in the system confrontation, when the J-10CE through electromagnetic suppression to tear open the Indian defense. The Dragon 3 more auxiliary tactical tasks, such as the use of smaller radar reflective cross-sectional area of the implementation of close reconnaissance or complementary shooting attacks. The overall improvement in platform performance then establishes the physical superiority of the J-10CE. With a thrust-to-weight ratio of 1.1 and a duck-wing aerodynamic layout, its instantaneous maneuverability far exceeds the 0.95 thrust-to-weight ratio and conventional layout of the Dragon 3. In the fighting stage on May 7, this advantage was transformed into tactical flexibility, when the Indian Su-30 Mki tried to get rid of the lock with the Cobra maneuver. The J-10CE quickly seized the attacking position by virtue of stronger energy mobility, and completed the kill with PL-10E fighting missiles to complete the kill. In addition, with a combat radius of 1,600 kilometers and a load capacity of 5.5 tons, the J-10CE is able to carry a golden combination of 4 Thunderbolt 15Es and 2 Thunderbolt 10Es, and can freely switch between long-range interception and close-range combat, while the LD-3 is limited by a radius of 1,200 kilometers and a load capacity of 3.5 tons, and often needs to rely on the synergy of multiple flights to achieve the same tactical effect. The more profound revelation of this air battle lies in the subversive power of systemized combat. The J-10CE does not exist in isolation, but together with the ZDK-03 AWACS, the JY-27 anti-stealth radar, and the Baidu satellite navigation, it forms a closed loop. While the Indian Rafale relies on stand-alone performance, the PAF has realized a complete kill chain from the early warning of the Mu radar, the dynamic command of the AWACS to the silent hunting of the fighters. This system advantage can even partially offset the generation gap exercises in the Lords 3 had through the early warning aircraft support in the over-the-horizon confrontation down F-15 SAW, and the addition of the J-10CE. More will be this synergistic effectiveness to the extreme. On the contrary, the Indian Air Force, despite having Rafale, Su-30MKI, and other advanced fighters, but the number of AWACS is insufficient, the data chain interoperability is poor, the equipment source is complicated and other issues, resulting in its failure to form an effective synergy, and ultimately in the system of confrontation and the collapse. For example, the failure of India's S-400 air defense system exposed its system vulnerabilities. The Pakistani army paralyzed the radar power supply through a grid attack, and then the Lords 3 launched anti-radiation missiles to suppress it, and finally the J-10CE completed the fatal blow. This multi-domain joint operation mode not only requires advanced equipment, but also relies on a highly standardized command system and data sharing capabilities. Due to the mixed sources of equipment in India, it is difficult to realize seamless docking between various platforms, and its universal brand equipment has become a burden in the system confrontation. The battlefield performance of J-10CE marks the leap of China's aviation industry from single equipment export to systematic capability export. It not only reshaped the Pakistan Air Force's combat mode, more small and medium-sized countries to provide a paradigm against the powerful Air Force, through a limited number of high-end equipment and mature early warning command system, to achieve the combat power of the exponential increase. For India, this fiasco not only exposed its heavy procurement, light integration of the national defense ills, but also heralded the future of the power pattern of the South Asian sky, or will usher in a profound change. When the J-10CE and Dragon 3 form a high-low collocation, with the Chinese air defense network continues to evolve, the Pakistani Air Force has been transformed from a regional defender to a strategic counterweight. Pakistan's purchase program further consolidates this trend. The large-scale deployment of the J-10CE not only fills the shortfall of the PAF's heavy fighters, but also pushes the country's defense industry toward autonomy through in-depth cooperation with China's military industry. In contrast, India has 260 Su-30MKIs and 36 Rafales, but its equipment maintenance relies on multinational supply chains, and its operational readiness rate has long been below 60%, showing its disadvantage in the protracted war of attrition. This air battle finally proved that modern war has shifted from weapons generation competition to system effectiveness game. The victory of J-10CE is not only a technological victory, but also a milestone in the globalization of China's military thinking and industrial system. When India is still indulging in the false name of military procurement power, Pakistan has already built an invisible, digital Great Wall through the Chinese system, and the technical logic and tactical wisdom behind it is worthy of every country pursuing national defense modernization's deep thought.